Mr. Chairman. Secretary Azar, I'm glad you were able to join us today, and I look forward to your answering some of my questions. I'd like to begin by talking about Scott Lloyd, the head of the Health and Human Services Office of Refugee Resettlement. Tremendous responsibility. This is a man who has shown complete disregard for the U.S. Constitution. He abuses his authority and tries to enforce his personal beliefs on immigrant women in custody over and over again. He has tried to control women's bodies and violate their constitutional rights to have an abortion. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit for the record a Washington Post article published today that describes an email reporters obtained from an official federal contractor. The contractor is VERA. The email claims that after a conversation with a federal employee at the Office of Refugee and Resettlement at Health and Human Services, they were directed to prevent their lawyers from discussing abortion access, even if minors in custody ask for help to understand their legal rights, or else their multi-million-dollar contract with the Department of Health and Human Services would be jeopardized. For the record, please, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Wow, that sounds like a complete violation of the law to me. Scott Lloyd, the Office of Refugee Resettlement Chief, his actions have put young women's lives in danger, even considering subjecting a woman to unproven medical experiments. And he personally tried to block a rape victim from getting an abortion. This is in a memo, and I'll quote from that memo. Quote, "Here, there is no medical reason for abortion. It will not undo or erase the memory of the violence committed against her, and it may further traumatize her. I conclude it is not her interest," end quote. To me, it's just ironic that a man would mention the violence committed on this young girl while at the same time violating her rights. Why does Scott Lloyd still have a job at Health and Human Services?
Well, first, we don't draw conclusions from media reports, but also these are matters in pending litigation. I'm not going to be able to speak to them, nor do I know the facts and circumstances. I have not been able to look into them yet at my time at the department.
How committed are you to make it a priority to look into the details of this, which you just mentioned that is now there's litigation going on over this matter?
So the mission that ORR has for these young children is a very solemn one, to look out for their health and well-being as well as the health and well-being of their unborn children. That is a very difficult task. It's an unenviable one. I think they're trying to do the best they can under the circumstances here to protect both the young girl's health as well as the unborn child's health, and to make sure they're standing in here under their statutory obligations to do this. And we'll certainly be looking to ensure that our programs are consistent with the law, that the way we administer them is consistent with court cases as they eventually come out. Beyond that, I'm not able to really comment. I don't have the facts.
Well, I'm glad you answered that way, so maybe you can double down on that answer by expressing before this committee members of Congress about the policies that the Department of Health and Human Services, of which you're now the head, when it comes to following the law and also the U.S. Constitution. It appears to me that that consistency would be incumbent upon any department, any public servant.
I would agree. We will always attempt to follow the law and the court constructions of the law and what our obligations are up against that.
So are you committed to making sure that not only Scott Lloyd, but anybody under your department would actually make sure that their actions and their interactions with the people that they've been charged in their care, that they be consistent with following the Constitution of the United States and the laws passed by this Congress and by presidents past and present?
We all take an oath. You did, I did, everyone at the department takes an oath to support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States.
Okay, so again, I asked you earlier, how committed are you to make sure that you look into the specific situation that Scott Lloyd has been involved with, that he's now under your purview?
So this is a matter in litigation. I'm not going to be able to comment about my personal activity connected to that or the nature of any investigations that we would conduct. These are matters that are being litigated in the courts right now, and we will follow where the courts end up here, and we will look. As I'm able to, we will look and determine whether our actions are consistent with the law and with case law as it evolves.
You mean to tell this committee, members of Congress, that you cannot give your own personal opinion about your personal commitment to how much you're going to look into this and how quickly or whether or not you'll make it a priority?
I'm the head of the agency. My name is on the litigation. I am not able to comment on pending litigation matters or actions that will be taken pursuant to that.
I'm not asking about actions. I'm talking about
Gentleman's time has
whether or not you can
expired.
look into it. I yield back.
Chair thanks the gentleman.